Hey guys, video number 3 for term 3. We are looking today at the same concept as the last video, so changing fractions to percentages. And the method for this is slightly different. So in our previous video we looked at using our knowledge of equivalent fractions. So if I had the fraction that was over 25, I knew that I could easily find my percentage by timesing 25 by 4, making it to 100, and then that's my percentage. Okay, but for this one, these examples here, I'm sure you can see, they're a little harder to work out how to make a denominator of 100. So it probably challenged to think, oh, how do I turn 8 into 100 by multiplying? That's really hard. And then mixed numbers are tricky as well. So I'm going to show you a method that works for these types of fractions. Okay, these ones are a little bit more difficult to work out. And in my title here you can see that I've got part of the strategy there by timesing by 100. Okay, so we're thinking now about our knowledge of multiplying fractions. Okay, so in term 2 we talked about how do I multiply two fractions together. That's what you're going to do for these fractions. You're going to multiply your first fraction, which is in your question, by 100. Now, who can remember, I wonder, what we do when we come across a multiplication of a fraction and a whole number? You should be thinking, I'm going to place that whole number over 1, because any whole number as a fraction is the same thing as the fraction of the whole number over 1. So 4 as a whole number is actually the same as 4 over 1, but we don't go about writing every whole number as a fraction, do we? So same thing when I think about 100, that's the same as 100 over 1. Now that I have done that, I can easily multiply across my top and across the bottom. Okay, that's really straightforward. However, it is heaps easier if you think about cancelling before you do that. Okay, so I'm going to go through these steps again with you, but try and keep up if you can at the moment. Okay, so what have I done? I've got my fraction, I've timesed it by 100, and I've realised 100 is the same as 100 over 1. And now that I've done that, I can multiply across the top and across the bottom. But if I think about that, then I'm going to have 300 over 8. That's pretty massive. So let's see if we can make it smaller by cancelling first, which makes the numbers easier to work with. So I'm going to cancel the 8 and the 100. I'm going to divide by 2. Okay? Sorry, no I'm not. I'm going to divide by 4. That's even better. Okay? So now I'm going to rewrite my fraction. 3 over 4, because I've cancelled here. Oh, far out. Making mistakes all over the place. That should be 3 over 2, hey. I'm sure if I was in the classroom right now, you guys would stop me and say, Miss, have another coffee. Okay, so that becomes 3 over 2, and then that becomes 25, times 25 over 1. Now that is heaps easier to work with than having 300 over 8. Now I can just multiply across the top and across the bottom. So 3 times 25, 75. 2 times 1, 2. Now, last thing we know about fractions is that we need to make sure we simplify our answer. Okay, so this is an improper fraction, so I need to place it as a mixed number. So 2 goes into 75 37 times, and I have, because that gets me to 74, then I have 1 left over, 2. So 37 and a half. Okay, don't forget though, it's asking us to convert it to a percentage, so that means I need to have the percent sign there. Now, that was a pretty extensive example, and I did a pretty ordinary job of explaining that to you. So I'm going to do another example before I go on to a mixed number. let's call that C. I'm going to do B over here. Alright, so my fraction is 7 over 40. And I'm thinking about changing that to a percentage, okay? Going from a fraction to a percent. Now, it's difficult to work out how do I change 40 into 100. So, I'm going to times it by 100 instead, okay? When I do that, I place it over the number 1, okay? Then I look at my numbers and think, can I cancel anything here? Totally can with this one. So if I think about dividing by the biggest number possible in the 40 and the 100, that's going to make my numbers real small. So I'm going to divide by 20. How good. So I'm going to rewrite my fraction. 7 over 2, because 40 goes into 20 2 times. And then 100 divided by 20 is 5. Now I have lots more simple answers, numbers to work with. Okay, so 7 times 5 is 35. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, it is an improper fraction, so I just need to simplify it. So I'm thinking to myself, how many times does 2 go into 35? Well, 2 goes into 30 15 times, goes into 32 16, goes into 34 17 times, and there's 1 left over. So 17.5%. Don't forget the percentage sign. Okay, so again, one more time. Times it by 100. Placed it over 1. Cancelled. Rewritten my fraction. Times across the top and across the bottom as we normally would with fractions. Here's my answer. Simplified it. Okay. So let's go on to a little bit more complex example where I'm doing mixed numbers. Okay? Actually, do you know what? I'm going to do one more example like this, and then I might do these in a different video. How about that? Just flying by the seat of my pants today, aren't I? Okay, let's think of another example. Geez, my videos are just A grade, aren't they? How good's that? Okay, I'm looking for fraction. I'm just going to pause this video while I come up with a really good question. Alright, cool, got a good one. So, 4 over 15. Okay, so let's go through our steps again. I'm going to times by 100. And 100 is the same as 100 over 1. Okay? So, now I'm going to cancel if I can. Alright, so let's work out. How can we cancel? Well, to me, I'm thinking of 15 and 100. If I divide by 5, that's going to work for both those numbers really well. Okay, so 15 divided by 5 is 3. 100 divided by 5 is 20. Okay, my 1 stays the same. Right, 4 times 20 is 80. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, now of course I need to change this from an improper fraction to a mixed number. So I'm thinking, how many times does 3 go into 80? Okay, so 3 goes into 80 26 times. And that gets me to 78. And no, I didn't know that off the top of my head. I had to stop and check. That's why I had to pause the video. So now I've got 26 and 2/3 of a percent. Alright. Tricky concept. Have a couple of practices. They're questions from 4i. Okay, if you need to. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to do that with mixed numbers. It's just one extra step. Good luck.